going on, guys? Shane here with another Fight Tips quick tip. So I'm going to ramble a little bit in this video. I need you guys to focus today. Talking about traditional martial arts or TMA versus mixed martial arts, MMA. Because the question that I probably get asked more than any other question is, Shane, does blank work in a fight? Does Taekwondo work in a fight? Does Kung Fu work in a fight? Does boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, do these work in a fight? My answer to all of these is yes and no. And I'll explain. So mixed martial arts, MMA, I feel like is at a transitional point right now. People don't realize that it's an umbrella term. They kind of see MMA as a martial art of its own, and I understand why. When you watch UFC or even The Ultimate Fighter or Bellator, you watch these events, and these fighters look very similar to each other, right? They have pretty good boxing, they have good round kicks, knees in the clinch, takedowns, they get pretty good wrestling, and then you see arm bars, rear naked chokes, and guillotines a lot. And people think that mixed martial arts is just that, and it sort of has become that in a way up until recently, up until guys like Uriah Hall and Sage Northcutt and even Anderson Silva started incorporating other things like Taekwondo into the mix. And like I said, I understand why people call MMA or see MMA as a martial art of its own, because when you go to a mixed martial arts gym, they'll teach you probably a little bit of boxing, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's 3 martial arts. That's not mixing all of the martial arts, right? But when you see guys throwing linear kicks, like front snap kicks, like Anderson Silva knocked Vitor Belfort out with years ago, that's a Taekwondo kick. It's right up the center. And I actually just did an article on fighttips.com, and if you guys haven't checked out the website, a lot of people don't even realize Fight Tips is a website. I write articles on there every once in a while, and we have an email list on there if you want to sign up. It's pretty much, you know, when I'm inspired to write an article, I'll send it out to you guys, so no spam or anything like that. But I just wrote an article about how Taekwondo works in mixed martial arts, especially because the predominant striking style in mixed martial arts is Muay Thai. And think about Muay Thai, right? It's round kicks, it's punches, it's elbows. But what linear strikes are done in Muay Thai, besides the front teep and a straight knee, right? They're the only ones that are coming right down the center. But when you think about blocking against kicks in Muay Thai, you do this, right? You bring your knee to your elbow and you block this whole side, this rounded side. Or if it's the other side, then you come here. But when I do these movements, what's open when I do that? Right down the center. Now, I'm not knocking Muay Thai. I've done Muay Thai for years. I fought in Thailand. I have the utmost respect for it. But think about that. If these guys are very squared off with their hips forward in a Muay Thai stance or boxing, and then that round kick comes, or they see a round kick, what they think is a round kick coming, but then they fake it for a front kick right up the center, they're not used to blocking the face with kicks, right? The only one that comes down the center, like I said, is probably a straight knee to the body, sometimes a flying knee or a teep to the face, but they're not used to blocking the center or even angling out, stepping out to the side. But we're starting to see more and more of that. We're starting to see side kicks down the center. We're starting to see the front snap kick up the center, hopping front kicks, Lyoto Machida, right? Spinning back kicks. All of these are linear kicks right down the center. So in that article, I put a bunch of animated GIFs on there of guys using it successfully. The wheel kick, right? Not a linear kick, but very deceptive, and you don't often see people spin and turn their back like that. Usually it was a spinning back fist or an elbow, but now we're starting to see that longer range wheel kick or the spinning heel kick knocking people out. So it's an umbrella term. MMA is an umbrella term. You got to understand that. The same way kickboxing is an umbrella term, right? Underneath kickboxing is Muay Thai, is Taekwondo, is Kyokushin karate. And people say, what's the best? You know, why not train a bunch of them? And another question I get asked too is, Shane, should I train 2 martial arts at the same time? That's up to you. I mean, if you feel like you have the time and you can focus on both and learning both, but that's also like learning 2 different languages at the same time. You know, it's a lot of information. You don't want to mix them up. Maybe master one first, then move on to the other one, unless you feel comfortable. Or maybe do a stand-up and a grappling art. You know, that way they're not too similar and you won't mix them up. There was one other point I wanted to make too. UFC 1 was more so, it made more sense back then to where people would ask questions like this, because it was Royce Gracie, who was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, right? He would close off the distance, he would take you down, he would arm bar you. And he'd go against a guy who had 1 boxing glove on or something like that. And it's like, obviously he's going to be a boxer. Obviously he's going to be throwing that punch. He's not going to try to shoot in for a double leg and take you down. But now it's much different. We're starting to see the Sage Northcutts, the Uriah Halls, and all these guys throwing spinning kicks. So when people ask these questions, does this work in a fight? Yes. You know, ultimately the whole theme of this video is take what works from certain martial arts, mix them, so it's mixed martial arts, and do what works for you, right? maybe Kung Fu, maybe Wing Chun isn't going to work predominantly, but maybe, let's say you knock someone out with a Kung Fu back fist. You can't argue that it doesn't work, but you're not going to see a guy become a champion who's standing like this and has very limited footwork. You know, you have to be able to incorporate each of it and make it work for you. A little bit of a rant, but hopefully this answers a lot of people's questions and clears things up. Share this video if you agree with me. All right, subscribe if you haven't already to get the fight tips before your opponent does. Follow me on Twitter. Links are right here in the description below. If you want to get shirts like this and support Sweet Science, links are also in the description below. Till next time, I'm Shane with Fight Tips. Self-defense for the underdogs.